Hello everyone, and welcome to Life Outside the Box, a space where we share real stories of resilience, healing, and hope. We sit down with incredible individuals who have faced significant life or health challenges and found a way to rise, thrive, and inspire others along the way. Today I'm truly honored to introduce you to my guest, Effie's Challenges. Through it all, Effie's compassion, strength, and unwavering desire to share her story become a powerful source of hope for so many. Effie is a nurturing presence and a heart that shines through every word she speaks. Coming up next, the wonderful Effie Sahamis. Welcome back, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Effie. Effie,
hello.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, and I want you to tell everybody a little bit about you before we start this whole interview.
Okay. Well, my name is Effie Sahamis. I am a real estate agent in the Fraser Valley area. I am also a mentor, a certified stager, and then more recently I started a little group called Fraser Valley Women Investing in Real Estate.
I love
that. And I absolutely love what I do because it's a service. And I moved here 28 years ago from Greece. So I was born and raised there. And I've been in Canada now for 28 years. I love it here. I love the Valley.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for introducing yourself. Now, you're here for a reason. So why don't we kind of get right into it and we'll tell your story.
Yes.
So how long ago, when did this all start?
So I guess when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. So I should say we're here to talk about hysterectomy, the effect that it has on women, and kind of like the psychology of it, how it's perceived and all of those things. So I think back when I was my late 20s, early 30s, I was married to my ex-husband at the time, and I started thinking about the idea of having children. So I had a pretty messy childhood. So my dream was to have kids and just like do the exact opposite of my parents, I guess. Okay. And just give them a really good life, right?
Yeah.
So within that process, I started finding out that my body was not cooperating. So it started with, very intense abdominal pain and lower back pain, and then started the journey of trying to figure out what it actually was. Which, by the way, it's not a very easy one because, unfortunately, women's health issues have not been researched as much as other things. So, especially back then, because that was about 15 years ago or so, not many people knew a lot about it. So, it was kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or something that, we weren't paying attention to so much.
Yeah. So you were saying some of the symptoms that you had were like abdominal cramping and stuff.
Yeah, abdominal pain, but I'm talking about excruciating abdominal pain. There was back pain. There was also bleeding, like a lot of it. Yeah. So I remember that by the end of it, I probably bled for 3 years almost every day.
Wow.
And
that's so crazy.
And up to the day of my surgery, we actually didn't have a diagnosis.
Whoa.
We just went by, the body cannot handle much more of this.
What's happening? Yeah. Okay, I was going to say, like, is there anything that they thought, like, or what was, like, a prognosis, or what was something that they actually thought it was?
So, funny story. So at first, they thought it was endometriosis, which is a more known
it's very common
condition.
Yeah.
So I had 2 exploratory surgeries. Both surgeries, the results were inconclusive. So they didn't explain my severe symptoms. And I have to tell you that I saw 7 doctors in the course of 3 years. And then after my couple exploratory surgeries, I started dealing with the backlash that it was emotional. that it was in my head.
Oh my goodness.
So
that all this pain and suffering is just all in your head.
All in my head, yeah.
Okay.
So, and I remember this. So I waited to see a specialist at the Women and Children's Hospital here in Vancouver. And I waited for 7 months because I heard this woman was amazing, right?
Okay.
So she was a surgeon there. I waited for 7 months, and the day of my appointment, I go there, and I'm bleeding just from Chilliwack to Vancouver. I had to change my clothes in between because there was no controlling this bleeding. So I get there, and I'm thinking, well, this is probably a good day to be here because they'll see how bad it is.
Yeah.
So I get there, and I walk through the door, and I get to my appointment, and I sit down, and this lady hands me psycho medication.
Oh, like, so just like antidepressants or just like actual?
No, it was like more than an antidepressant. It was like a psycho something medication.
Oh, okay.
Like
antipsychotic.
Antipsychotic.
Oh, okay.
So they said my pain was, a myth of my head.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so how do you explain all this bleeding?
Yeah, where's the why?
Yeah, where's the why? And then they said it was just, that's how my body was reacting to what my brain was thinking.
Okay.
And I sat there and I said, I know there's something wrong with me, and it is not in my brain. Like, it's not in my head. So, and I mean,
and that's after you were there, like, fully, like...
Yes.
What?
Yes. And they had no diagnosis. She handed me these medication and said, take this and call me in a month.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The good news is finally I found a doctor who's local here to Chilliwack, who was very kind and compassionate, and we ended up figuring it out.
That's so good.
Yeah. But I mean, we didn't figure out until I was in surgery, because apparently I had 3 tumors in the back of my uterus. The CT scans missed it. The exploratory surgeries missed it. They weren't cancers, thankfully, but they were there causing all the trouble. And of course, like, my surgery itself was supposed to be like 2-3 hours, and it ended up being 7 hours.
Oh
right?
my goodness.
So, yeah.
That's a long process.
Yeah. But, even my first appointment with a gynecologist, forgot to mention this. So, of course, like, I was going to my GP for this, and he's like, okay, I'll refer you to a specialist. So I go to the specialist, the first doctor that I went to, and I walked through the door, and I sat down, and he was reading the chart that whatever my family doctor has sent them, and he just wrote me a prescription, and he gave it to me. No conversation, no questions. He just said, I'm reading your symptoms here. Here's a prescription for, actually, I think it was Tramadol, which is an opioid for pain.
Oh, okay.
Here's a prescription for the pain. And
goodbye.
That
was
much.
it? Like, no conversation?
Nope. Zero. Nope.
Oh.
Isn't that terrible?
That is terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like, just looking at your chart, now we have all this information on you, but I'm not even going to bother asking you questions.
No,
I'm just
next,
assuming.
right? Oh. Next person. So, at that time,
validating.
I was feeling crazy, right? Because I was like, maybe there is something wrong with me in my head, right?
Of course, yeah.
I was feeling crazy. I was feeling let down by the system because nobody was giving me answers. They were giving me maybes, stuff like that, but no answers.
So nothing solid. There's not like, it could be A, B, or C.
Right.
And this is what we would do for one.
Right.
And this is what okay.
And I held on to the idea of having kids for 3 years until my body started breaking down, right? After bleeding for all that time.
Your iron must have been crazy low, hey?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Barely alive, barely alive. And other organs in the body had started to decline because there was all this filtering that was happening constantly. And how my surgeon explained it is that we all know that when a woman gets her period, the uterus sheds, right? So the wall. So mine was a wound. Like, it was like a raw.
It was like a scar?
It was a raw
wound
because it was constantly doing that.
Okay.
Right? So it had no time to return to itself or heal or anything like that. So,
goodness.
So it was pretty much killing me. So.
Oh, that's so scary.
It is
just
scary.
And not knowing. It's like,
Yeah.
one of the biggest pieces
Yeah.
too. You're like, what is this? Why? And everyone's just telling you it's in your head.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not
and you also
actually
have the other part, right? The part where you really want to have kids, right? And you know that, you know, the only alternative is to have a hysterectomy to get healthy. But then that comes with the sacrifice of motherhood. Yeah.
That would have been a hard decision.
It was very hard.
Yeah.
It was very hard. But on the other hand, like, you can't, you know, once the body cannot go on anymore, you know, there's not much you can do about it.
And did they say that if you did get pregnant that this would all clear up? Or
yes.
did any of, like,
yeah,
did they
somewhere
say,
in
like,
the 7 doctors that I saw, somebody said, all you have to do is get pregnant. All you have to do is get pregnant and you'll feel better. But honestly, like, knowing where I know now, I'm 48 now, right? And I've been through quite a bit in life. So knowing where I know now is like, that is not a statement to tell someone as a solution to a medical problem. Right? All you have to do, yes, we do know that, you know, our cells regenerate or stuff like that, right? When we do get pregnant as women. But I don't think that was a solution that, you know, that was presented to me, and it wasn't happening. So obviously, you know,
exactly. So
it wasn't going to happen.
But, exactly. And how could it when you're feeling that awful too, right? Like your body's under so much stress, not knowing what's happening, and then wow. Yeah,
there was a lot of stress because also, like, you know, a few of the doctors, as I mentioned, were saying that it was just stress and it was in my head, and I was like, no, like, something is really wrong with me.
And then until they opened you up and, like, okay, now they saw that there was tumors and all these things, and now that point they're probably like, okay, well, it's a good thing we're just taking it all out now. Is that the time that they decided to do all of that?
No,
or they explored it? That was an exploratory one?
No, so the final surgery was scheduled as a hysterectomy because the body was failing. Because my blood tests and other tests were coming back as, like, my kidneys were having an issue, my liver was having an issue, obviously my uterus was having an issue. You know, I had no iron, I had no stored ferritin, you know, all these things. I was just like a little ghost, right? I was walking around like
so pale
and
like
weak, and I think I was like 100 pounds maybe, you know. And yeah, so my surgeon, bless his heart, he made the decision and he said, that's it, we're not waiting anymore. I'm gonna book you in for a hysterectomy. And it was kind of like, I'll book you in next week.
Wow. And usually it takes a long time if you decide to do that. Like,
no, my body was failing. So
well, for you it was like emergency.
It was an emergency pretty much. Wow. So, and when I woke up from the surgery, and he came in to check on me and tell me, he said, I am so glad that we did this, because if we hadn't done this today, you would have come in an emergency situation in the ER, and we would have had a very hard time to save your life.
They wouldn't have been as prepared probably either, right? Because they'd be like, what's happening?
No.
Now we just...
Well, there was a problem because I didn't have any stored iron, right? So bleeding out wasn't an option.
No.
Right? It was,
so scary.
And actually continued right after the surgery, about a week in, I think. I actually got 3 infections at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
And ended up in the hospital, and that day I almost lost my life.
That was after the surgery.
After the surgery, about a week in. And again, the system fails because I went there and I waited in the ER for about 4 or 5 hours before they let me see a doctor. And then the response of the nurses was, oh, you just had a hysterectomy. It's just, this is all normal.
But yet you're having like infection.
But yet I had 3 infections. I had a UTI infection, I had a chest infection, and I had an infection on my belly button, which was an entry point for the surgery.
That's where they put in.
So I had these 3 infections, and they were just raging by the time they brought me in. Like, I had a high fever, I couldn't breathe. I was in a lot of pain. And then what they did is, like, they rushed to fix it with a whole bunch of different antibiotics and pain medicine and all this stuff. And then I had an anaphylactic shock to the medication.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
I will not.
crazy.
My auntie Chrysanth, she was there, and I've never seen her lose her cool. But that day, I saw her lose her cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She probably.
Yeah.
was
And
like,
I remember like the nurse saying, I think we're going to lose her. And I was
Oh my
like, what are you talking
gosh.
about? Like in my little brain, I could hear them, right? So in my brain, I was like, no, you're not going to lose her. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm going to be fine.
I'm here.
Yeah. And here I am.
Oh,
Right? So it does get better,
incredible.
ladies. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that surgery, so they took you for surgery, or they just cleared the infection and did all that stuff? Like, so they actually
So
had
after
to do another surgery, or was it
No,
just okay?
no, it was medication.
medication.
I had to stay in the hospital for a
Okay.
few days and
Get your
take all this
levels up.
medication and get all my levels up and the fever down and the breathing back up. I think my heart rate was like 129 or something.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
my
it's like running.
Yeah.
Running or like a nice
Yes.
jog.
Yes.
Crazy.
Laying down. Yeah. That was my heart
Oh.
rate. Yeah. It was pretty sketchy.
Yeah, I'd
I was
say.
like, we might not make it through this one.
But your mind tells you the opposite.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm here, I'm doing this. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I remember my doctor said, I just want to let you know that you just got a second chance in life and don't waste it. Right?
Whoa.
And, I didn't know what that meant
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
But looking back, nowadays, I know exactly what he was talking about.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
So after your surgery and then after the infection, how long did it take to recover from, like, how long did it take where you're like, oh my goodness, this is working, I'm feeling better,
Yeah.
I'm like feeling normal-ish, I guess, because that's 3
Yeah.
years of pain and
Yeah.
suffering that you've
I would
gone through,
love
right?
to tell the ladies that it was over right after, and I felt amazing, but
Yeah.
that was not the case, right? First of all, when you take an organ out of your body, that's a really big deal to your body.
Okay.
So, and there's a lot of weakness in your core, right? And we all know that when
Okay.
your core is weak, then
Yeah.
the rest of you is not doing all that great.
Okay.
So my core was probably weak for almost a year
Oh, wow.
or even more.
Okay.
But I think the most interesting part about it was that after everything was said and done, healed from surgery, healed from everything, months later, I was getting pains. I was getting pains in my lower back and my abdomen. So
Is that like a nervous system thing?
it
or-
is ghost pains.
Whoa.
Right?
Okay, that's like when you're pregnant, sometimes you had the kicking and whatnot,
Yeah.
and then you feel it like 6 months later after you have the baby.
Yeah.
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 Oh. Whoa.
So they call it ghost pains because it's your nervous system that's you like if you've gone through this trauma and this pain for like 3 years like I did.
Yeah,
Consistently, there's something called a ghost pain. So after the fact, they say like, people that get their amputees, right?
yeah, that they actually feel pain or feel like
Yes.
their leg's still there.
Yes.
Oh,
So it's
wow,
kind of
yeah.
the same thing, right? Like, and I think it's with everything. Like, it's a part of your body that's left, but that last thing that spot remembers is all the pain. So
Yeah, wow.
So and then that took probably a year and a half where that went away.
Okay.
Yeah. And eventually, you start to get stronger. Because I remember for months after the surgery, lifting a cup of coffee was heavy.
Oh, whoa.
You felt it in your core.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
And like the surgery itself, like you said, the entryway was belly button.
Yeah, so I had a laparoscopic hysterectomy, so they didn't cut my abdomen
Okay, yeah.
because they didn't want to risk me bleeding out. So, that was like the best way to do it.
Let's keep it really small. And
Yeah, but what happens is, in order to get to the uterus, they have to move around your organs. So they move your organs around, they get to the uterus, and then this is a little gross, and they cut it out piece by piece and bring it out your belly button,
Okay.
right?
Good thing I
Sorry, we got a little
ate a
graphic.
long time ago.
Yeah, we got a little graphic, right?
Okay.
So
yeah, but it's what happens.
it's what happens, and and it's what takes a long time, right?
Okay. So is there any like stuff just sitting there after they've cut through? Obviously, they take everything out.
They take everything out, and you have staples.
Okay.
So they staple inside.
Okay.
But these are like body absorbing, dissolvable staples. But you've got those staples in there, and you can kind of feel them. You feel like there's something not right, you know, in there. But you also like, I think probably my stomach has never returned to its normal function since the surgery.
Okay. Is it because like, you know, now that all that is gone, that was probably resting on some of your organs or whatever?
Yeah, so it's been repositioned, right?
Okay.
So, and then your body takes time, and I don't know exactly the medical like term of how long it takes, but it takes a long time for your body to find like the new positions in your organs, right?
Whoa.
Because something is missing. So, yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of like taking a piece of a puzzle out, right? Like yeah.
And then it has to make its way to shift back into place, I guess.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Whoa.
It's fun, right? It's not fun.
That's...
It's not fun.
No, that's not fun.
And it's interesting because I just feel that nobody really like talks about this, you know? Many women go through it in like silence. They don't... And I mean, in a way I did too.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really share so many details with, you know, with many people or anything like that.
Yeah.
And especially while I was going through it before the surgery, I just thought people were thinking that I'm crazy because that's what the doctors told me.
Yeah.
And I also was thinking that I'm complaining too much.
So you probably didn't feel like you wanted to be a burden to everybody. Or...
No, so you kind of suffer in silence, right? And you just try to go about your day, but, you know, your body doesn't follow. But also, you know, obviously a hysterectomy, and after it's done, yes, you know, some of the things return to a better place where, you know, you don't feel that pain anymore. You're not bleeding every day, you know, things like that. Your health starts to return. But there is a lot of emotion to deal with.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah. Well, can we talk a little bit more about that after the break?
Yes,
okay,
we can.
Perfect. I didn't want to stop you, but 'cause I'm really interested in this emotional part. But
all right,
we'll see you after the break.
See you after the break.
Welcome back. So we were just touching a little bit about your, like the emotional part of your circumstance,
right?
How that started to unveil. So why don't we...
So, you know, we talked a little bit about, you know, the decision making, right? And just making that decision when you're, you know, you're a young woman in your early 30s, which is young these days, right?
Young,
yeah. And having to choose between your health, and potentially having a baby, which, you know, you struggle, it hasn't happened, you probably won't, but it's still in there. So once I had the surgery, you know, and the dust settled, because then you're still dealing with the pain and the post-surgery stuff and the infections and all of that, right? So the brain doesn't really have time, you know, to process. I know the initial, like the moment I woke up from that surgery, it was grief, right? I was grieving losing that part, because then it's over, right? It's kind of like when somebody passes away, it's over. You can't talk to them again. You can't
You're
do
grieving
anything.
the idea of it, the memory of it, or like the potential memory, or the,
you're grieving
the future hopes and stuff.
you're grieving. So that was initial. Then, you know, and you stay in that grief, and I think I stayed in that grief very silently, because, you know, my family was being very supportive, but also like it was like, oh, good, it's done. You're not gonna be in pain anymore, right? But I think everybody kind of tiptoes around the emotional pain. And I mean, I don't blame them, because like, how do you understand what that grief feels like, right? So there was grief, right? Quite a bit of it. And then there was, you know, the things that triggered you in a way, because, you know, I remember like months later or so, I think I was in a clinic or something, like medical professional, you know, how they ask you all these questions. Have you ever had surgery? How long ago? Blah, blah, blah. So one of the questions was that, and I, you know, put down hysterectomy, you know, 4 months ago. And then when I was going through the conversation, they said, hey, so did you have cancer? And I said, no, I did not. And they're like, oh, so it was an elective hysterectomy. And I can tell you that in 2025, hysterectomies are still called elective unless it was a life and death situation.
Like you chose to do that, but you had no choice, really. Right. Like you had to make that decision.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And it wasn't a light decision, but, and I remember being like, feeling angry at this. Like, I was like, nothing about this was elective.
Yeah.
You know, this was my life.
To do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, they're probably looking at you at 32, however your age was, but like that's really young to be doing this procedure, right? Like that's something that someone who's there in their 50s or 60s or whatever. Yeah. That's usually the time that they do that. So wow.
So it was like there's nothing about it that's elective. No. Anyways, and then comes you talk to some people that don't actually have the emotional intelligence to be supportive, and they might say the wrong thing or they don't know what to say. Yeah. You know, I got a lot of like, oh, maybe you should just adopt a baby. Yeah, that's an option. Yeah. Yeah, but you know. But I think in the end, you know, and in the beginning, I did have that notion that maybe if things, because, you know, I should mention that shortly after that, my marriage fell apart. So I had no partner. Yeah. So,
so I'm just going to adopt a baby and then have it on my own. And So that could be a little touchy for sure. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. So, but I was navigating grief in both fronts at the time.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
I was navigating the ending of, you know, my ability to be a mother, and then the end of my marriage at the same time, pretty much. So, you know, or maybe like a year or so later, I think. So, you know, that was an interesting part of the story too, right? Yeah. Just navigating all the emotional stuff. But I think eventually I just made a decision that I am going to focus on a career. You know, if I'm not going to be a mother, you know, and I'm not going to, you know, have that opportunity, then I'm going to do something with my life that's, you know, that serves a purpose. Yeah. So that's how I got into the career I am today. And I think that's in a way, cool. Like, but you know, like I haven't felt that I did get the chance to be a mother. My ex-husband had kids that, you know, I got the opportunity to raise with their birth mom. So cool. And they are still in my life today, and you know, and they choose me to be in their life, so that's very special to me, so right? And then my brother, God bless him, had 5 kids, and my sister-in-law. So you know, so I've gotten to be, I've gotten to give a lot of love to kids that I didn't give birth to, all my nieces and nephews, and you know, all of that, right? So I feel like so cool. It's not the end. You know, there's, you know, that motherly instinct inside you will come out in other ways. I actually sometimes think like I mentor new realtors, and I'm pretty good at it.
Good, yeah.
I'm pretty good.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah. So, but I sometimes feel that some of that success with that, I think, comes from a motherly instinct, right?
Your nurturing personality. You want to help guide these students to a level that they want to achieve, and
right. So the hysterectomy didn't take that from me.
Good.
Right? That's the part that you know was not lost, right? And obviously I had to work through it and understand what that is, right? But what I'm saying is, like, if you are in that position and you have a hysterectomy, you know, you can work through it, feel your grief, cry, whatever, but then you can pick yourself up and you can give, you know, that same nurturing to others around you. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because that's healing.
It is. Yeah, for sure.
That's very healing.
You know, your career too kind of is something that you've got to focus on to get you through a lot of it.
Yes.
And then with that career, you got to nurture and mentor other people.
Yeah.
in the middle of all that.
Yeah. So I did use my career as something to focus, to go through all of that turmoil, right? Because between the hysterectomy and the divorce, like there was a lot going on there, right? But I found a focus, and then I stayed focused for a long time, you know, while working through. Obviously, there's days and times where it still creeps in sometimes. Like I think every time I hold a newborn baby, you know,
heart just like
and I think actually like right after the surgery, for the first little while, I felt that I couldn't be around a baby.
Oh, wow.
I think it's because it was painful, you know? But that worked itself through, and then eventually it turned into like every time I hold a baby, like I feel this like glow, right? Even though it's not my baby, right?
Yeah. Now that you've come on the other side, you're like, this is just a joyful thing.
Yeah. And it's pretty interesting because I find like, I'm a baby whisperer. Like babies like being in my arms, right?
You must be.
But but I, you know, there is that. It comes back, right? Eventually, you settle into it. I just really want to say that I see like, and I hear a lot of women that are suffering through things, right? Things are undiagnosed, you know, with symptoms, with pain, bleeding, you know, and trying to make that decision. If you ask me if that was the best decision I've ever made in my life, I don't know the answer to that. It's a probably, because I feel like, you know, I learned a lot through it, but I also got to, you know, experience life again. Yeah. Because I honestly, at that time, I really felt crazy. So,
Well, and this is a part of your journey that also can shape who you are too. Today, right? Like
every journey is.
Doing something hard or going through something really difficult can, you know, give you the confidence to overcome absolutely anything. Once you get to that point where you're able to emotionally
I
process
always
it
say
all
like, I always say I've faced the devil, you know, with this. And whatever else comes my way, I can actually do it, right? So, you know, once you've gone through something really hard, and you know, when I say hard, I also mean something that was prolonged hard. You know, it wasn't like hard for a week, it was hard for 3 years, right? So it's a very long process of all of that, and I think like about a year in recovery. So like that's like 4 years of your life.
And through that year of recovery, did you do any sort of thing to help with your emotional health? And like, is there something that you kind of dug into besides your career and all those opportunities? Is there?
You should be talking to a counseling, right? You should take counseling for this, and I did too for a little while there. Also, I found comfort in faith. You know, just because obviously, like when this first happened, I was kind of mad at God, right? I was saying, why would you do this to me? You know that I would be an amazing mother. Because that's all I ever wanted to be, right? And, you know, are you watching the news and stuff, and you see people mistreating their kids or whatever, or killing them or whatever happens. Things happen in the world, right? But I remember every time just being like, why me? You know? But now I know that my purpose was different. Maybe my purpose was to be in other kids' lives that maybe needed an extra or just needed my insight or whatever, right? And I still feel that way, right? With you know, my nephews and nieces and everyone, right? Obviously, you know, since I don't have my own birth children, because I still consider my kids from my ex-husband my kids, right? I call them my kids. And, you know, maybe that's what I was meant to do. I was meant to be in these lives, right? So, and I think, but, you know, at the time, you question your purpose. You know?
Well, when you think of it, like if you did have a child of your own, you would maybe have less time with those children.
Maybe,
and, you know, there'd be a little bit of a different situation. And
maybe it would be,
But also, like, I mean, you would hit it head on and you'd be fine. But
you know, like, really I had to really like dig into that and just let God, because there's no answer to that question, right? Like,
of course.
You know, no matter how many times you ask, like, why didn't you give me children? Why did I have to go through this? There's no answer. Only one person knows, and he's out there. So
yeah. And then you're
so
able
I leaned
to
into
accept
that.
it, right?
I leaned into that a lot.
Amazing.
Yeah. And of course, like, I leaned into my career and, you know, being a bit of a perfectionist there, but, you know, just lean into, like, making something of myself, right?
Well, and with your job, you're touching a lot of people. Like,
I
this
am.
is their homes.
Yeah.
Like their future homes, or they're selling their home that they had all these memories. So it's a very, like,
it's a very emotional thing.
Right?
I know people don't realize how emotional it is. Like, it's almost like all these people become family and part of your daily thoughts. And, you know, because throughout, like, there's so many things. Like, and I meet a lot of kids too, right? That you know, and a lot of families, and in a lot of different situations, right? People getting sick, people, you know, all kinds of things, right? So yeah, I've been able to be just very nurturing throughout my career, and I think that's where that energy went.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. Well, you have an outlet there that you can use, that gift that you have.
Yes,
as being so nurturing and
and
yeah.
But, you know, the process from then to today, like, it's been a journey. There's a lot of things to navigate. Like, one of them I remember being, obviously, after the divorce and after everything, is when it actually took me a very long time to even think about dating.
Of course.
But, you know, there was other things, priorities, a career, health, you know, all these things. But I remember, like, thinking, like, when does this become a topic in a conversation if you go out on a date with someone, right? Because I truly believe that they would need to know, you know, before, you know, dating someone, you like them or whatever, they would need to know before it moves any further that, you know, I can't have kids. And obviously I marked that as an X on my resume, right? When I was meeting people, it was like, that's an X on my resume. You know,
meaning, like, they want to have kids, so no, or like,
no,
oh, no,
like me,
so
I was the X, right? It was like, you know, but, you know, and it's kind of like, how soon do you have that conversation? Yeah, you know, what if this person, you know, what if you fall in love with them? What if they fall in love with you? Like, how do you navigate that, right? Because there is, you know, people that's a very important thing to them, and I just thought it was fair that before they got to know me well, that they knew this part about me.
That's so good.
Right? Yeah. And I call that my truth, right? So this is me, you know. But it was kind of like, at first, it was like, so do you say that on the first date, the second, the third, right?
Yeah, that would be a tough way to, like, think about when that conversation should pop up.
Yeah, because they would, you know, some of the reactions were like, whoa, right?
Oh,
like,
why are we talking about this first? Okay. Like, we're not there yet. Or,
But but to me, right, it was like,
I want to be honest.
Yeah, you know, I was in my late, you know, 30s or whatever, right? And I wasn't, you know, looking to play around, right? You know, since I decided to get back out in the world with that, I wanted to have real connections with people, right? Too old to just play around, right? So, you know, I felt that it was fair that I present myself as I am. So
good.
I sometimes laugh because in real estate we have a term called a material latent defect. And a material latent defect is a defect that you can't actually see with the naked eye, or you can't even discover it upon inspection.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So me not being able to have kids was a material latent defect, right? So
that's a really good way to put it.
So I'd be like, so I'm great, but I have a material latent defect, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good to keep it simple and
if any of my realtor friends are watching this, they're going to be laughing.
They're like, I know what that means. I'm like, I don't know. Anybody else would be like, well, thank you for defining that.
But yeah, seriously though, right? It's something that I think, you know, a person who's sitting across of you should know, right? Especially with people that weren't married previously and didn't have kids, right? Like, maybe that's their dream, right? So, and then you obviously can't give it to them in the physical way. Yeah. You know, so those are conversations that were uncomfortable to have.
For sure.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Hello, nice to meet you. I can't have
First
kids.
date.
Yeah. Anyways.
Please tell me it wasn't the first day that you
No.
Good.
No.
Yeah. But that's really
No.
good that you did have that.
Yeah.
Like being open enough at that time
Yeah.
to be able to be like, you know what, this is a decision that we're gonna have to make one way or the other. If we get too close, then then we have
That's right.
this to
but you know,
through.
there was a times where somebody would ask, so what is your, would you like to have kids one day? So then that made it easy for me to say, right, what I needed to say. But
amazing.
Yeah. So
I can see how that could come up in conversations.
Right?
And,
Yeah.
Awesome. But that's so good that you got that opportunity to be able to like be open and just say, hey, like this is good. So
there was no other way to be, I think. Right?
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
So that's kind of how I navigated. I'd say some can say that I just like poured myself into my career and like my health and like all these things and just tried to be better and get better. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. And I am better.
You are better. Yeah. You look great.
Thank you.
Thanks. So if there's anything that you could like, I know you've had a lot of insightful things to say already in between all of this, but I really always at the very end, I like to kind of enhance a little bit more of like, if there is somebody else out there that has a family member or that they have actually gone through something like this, what is something that really speaks to you to maybe say that could be helpful? Yeah. Or, I mean, all of this is helpful, but something that really speaks to your heart. Yeah. Like, what is a big...
I think the biggest thing is don't be silent. Be vocal about it, right? Don't suffer in silence. Speak to someone. Speak to me if you want to. And then the other thing is, like, if you are a family member that's navigating through something like this, just be supportive. You cannot give them a solution. Just be supportive and, help them go through the grief, because it is grief, right? Like maybe it's not in its physical form, like, they didn't lose a child. They actually lost the ability to have one. And, and although, I know losing a child is worse, this is pretty big too for emotional health. Like, because our society too, right? It's the patriarchy is like women are put on this. One of the things that women get to do on this earth is to create life, right? And that is a big blessing. Yeah, it's a gift. It's a gift, right? So when that gift gets taken away, it is a big deal, right? So don't treat it as, okay, so now you had your surgery and you're going to get better and you're going to feel better, because they're not going to feel better for a long time. They need a lot
give them that space, I guess. Like,
give some space and
it's a good way to put it too, because I mean, you wouldn't think like, I mean, yes, you could think, but like, grieving is a big piece of this, right? A big piece. Yeah.
And it's something that you grieve forever, I think. I don't think you ever really not think about it. Yeah. Right? I think I ask the question sometimes to my now fiance, right? I'm like, do you think I would be a good mother? And he always says, you'd be an amazing mother. You are an amazing mother, right? But, it's kind of funny because that question, I'm now 48 and I still ask it sometimes. Wow. Maybe it just comforts me to hear that.
Yeah, it's just like affirmation, right?
Yeah, maybe it's an affirmation, but but I do think it stems from a little bit of grief still, right? Like that, I don't think that goes away completely.
Yeah, I heard a term, love or grief is love stuck and nowhere to go. Exactly. Right, and so you still will carry that, but you don't, like, you've had this love for this potential unborn child or this love for this opportunity to be able to have, and then it's kind of, where do we place this?
Yeah. And then, another thing is push for answers and, advocate for yourself, because for some reason, yes, we're in 2025 and women still get pushed aside with their health issues.
Yeah. You would think there'd be a lot more studies on it, or some sort of like maybe some more clarity on
and let's not even get to, right, like, because when you have a hysterectomy, you hit perimenopause.
Okay, yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
We hit menopause.
So that's also something that family members are going to have to notice and be comforting for and
navigate through that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on when a woman has a hysterectomy. There's a lot, like it's emotional, there's grief, there's physical, there's, all these things. It's a really big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being
welcome.
so courageous and so vulnerable and telling your story. It's so insightful.
Yeah. Thank you. I hope it helps someone.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I know it will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you more actually about that after the break. Welcome back. I was moved by how openly and courageously Effie shared her journey with us. So many women and families suffer silently and in pain as they go through these life transformations. Effie's willingness to speak so openly about such a deeply personal chapter of her life is not only admirable, it is a gift. Her story is a powerful reminder that it is important to advocate for ourselves and for those we love, to ask questions, to seek support, and to know that it's okay to talk about the emotional and physical struggles that may come before or after a life-changing medical procedure. And above all, to hold on to faith and find comfort in family and friends. Thank you, Effie, for your courage and your heart. And thank you to everyone watching and sharing in this conversation. Wishing you all a beautiful day, and we'll see you next time on Life Outside the Box.